Hello, hello everybody. I'm Donna M. Ross. This is just the part 3 of the expose about this new weapon that the United States has, our country. This is part 3 where I'm going to list a few corrections in just a few minutes. It'll take just a few minutes to list some corrections to part 2. As I mentioned in part 2, I've been in basically intensive care for about a year when nobody came to my rescue in government. I won't go into that story right now, but I wasn't feeling, I was sort of regressing health-wise when I had to make that video. Plus I'm being sabotaged all the time by this particular version of the computer weapon. And so it made certain things come out incorrectly and not clearly. For example, when I was explaining the industrial military complex to you, I intended to tell you the first reason that we have wars is because of what President Eisenhower mentioned as he went out of office in 1960, that he went onto television and he warned the people of the United States that the industrial military complex was out of control and that even he as president could not control it. And then I went on to tell you about my upbringing, that I sort of grew up in that world. What I meant to say is that I have spent a great deal of time in those circles without knowing it. And these are just people. It's not a big scary thing, the industrial military complex. These are just people. And yes, they like to get rich. And some of them came from other countries to the United States. And they became very, very, very rich by starting out and working as some kind of scientist or something, a business person for a quote-unquote defense contractor, and rose up and then owned it and became a billionaire or more. And I do know these people, and you really can't turn your back on them. We can't turn our back on these people. They're just so obsessed about becoming rich and famous. That's all they're interested in. It's scary how they are in their personal lives, and the fact that they don't care that their riches came from the paychecks, taxes, money that should have gone to minimum wage workers. These people are really cold, but they're just people, and they're not necessarily intelligent all the way around. This is not a problem that we can't solve. This is a really easy problem to solve. It's about making sure that we have cameras on people that work for us in the government, and have roving cameras on anybody that's working in these important positions, so that we know, we can keep an eye on who they're spending time with, and where are they receiving money and gold that arrives in the base of a little potted plant that's delivered to their house. These are things that happen, and that's why people, it's not insolvable. It's all about money and lifestyle, which is also what we have to do to make sure that people are given jobs in the military and in these companies, so that they can join us in saying, yes, let's close out these unnecessary wars. It'd be less expensive for the country to actually semi-retire these people and to give them jobs, really good jobs, rebuilding the infrastructure of the United States, and reparations for other countries where we owe it. But I just wanted you to know about that. And also, after listening to the video, part 2, I realized that I need to be really clear about this weapon, robotics. And we need the help of the world in making sure that all of the good people, the good smart people in the United States wake up and hear about this, because the media also is dropping the ball now. They're not in the United States, as we grew up, we're taught in schools that we have a representative form of government, and we all believe it because that's what we're taught, and it sort of looks okay. And we're taught that the media is the place to go to for information about what's happening in our country. We're taught how to write research papers by researching the media. What have they reported on, this and that? And we don't know until you've been in and out of all of these government offices, as we did, for such an important cause, which is to alert them to the fact that this new billion-dollar weapon of the government and the high-tech industry is being used by tech workers, technology workers, to murder children, school children, mothers and children, entire families, law-abiding people in the safest neighborhoods in the United States, to say nothing of around the world, because it attacks you through the roof of your home by satellite. The people living in the safest neighborhoods, doctors and attorneys, their families, their children, they're being murdered. And my resume alone would do it. I've served in politics. When I was 26, I was on the board of directors, or I was in my early 20s on the board of directors for one of the nation's premier ski resorts. It's one of the best ski resorts in the world. And I was asked by the town to fly in someone's private jet over to Sacramento to lobby for the town, to help arrange some matters for the town. And I've told you in the other video that I was president, what I did in college, and what I've done in other positions. But until you go in and out of all of these offices, of these people, without a huge group behind you, and without offering them any money, and for a really important cause like children being murdered by high-tech workers and mothers and children, to say nothing of my own businesses and my life and me, you have no idea the reality in there. How bad it is in all of these Senate offices, especially every single senator office. And I'm going to try to give you a list of all the senators so the world knows how bad, and so you can help us to put pressure on the United States to get going on this. That we have murder occurring, and we have crazies in these offices. Every senator's office, every single one of them, no matter what party they were in, the progressives, the Republicans, the independents, the socialists, they were all exactly the same. They are extremely abusive. And when I mention that they're sort of like the French penal colony era governors, I'm apparently part French. That's where I spend as much time as possible. I would own a home there, and if I weren't being sabotaged by the stalker. But we all know from the movie Papillon how, really badly the governor, they would behave. And that's what's going on in our Senate offices, everybody. It's as if these people in there have rabies. It's the only place you can go in the United States to find extremely abusive people. I've worked in business and in philanthropy and in the arts. I've worked all my life. And people will hire me for my social skills and my ability to remain polite under pressure and to handle very complex situations. Corporations always promote me up to that position. And so when I'm telling you how bad it is in there, you have no idea how bad it is in there. It is scary, and that they are so un-American. So we need help from the world to wake everybody up in the United States that the media is not reliable at this point. Maybe with local news, but not with things that are going on in our country, even local. When my business was destroyed, the local media couldn't be bothered about this new crime. And now we've had mass shootings in the area where it's a long story, but anyway, I'm trying to find my list. This in late 2013 and into 2014, we began alerting all the senators that we could, thinking we would like to find somebody that would do something about this war. We didn't realize how bad it was in there until we took the time to call everybody and mention that it was President George W. Bush's own technology advisor who had given us information about this weapon that proves this war isn't necessary. And they were all so abusive. They were just, their staff is just shouting and just filled with despise for the public. And it's so inappropriate. They're just out of hand because they're just completely spoiled, because they're the only people in the country that don't have the stick. The rest of us have people keeping us clean and honest. We have our customers that see what we're doing. But the people in these positions are being trained by their parties what to say to the public that makes the public feel good. And they'll tell you that they're there for you and that they care when they're on the television, when they're in front of a television camera, or when they're sending out emails to the constituents. But when you go in, the inappropriate behavior, and also I have to question their intelligence. It is so dumb, really, really unintelligent, scary. So please help us wake up all of the people in our country that are good and smart. All the doctors, the attorneys, all the small business owners, these people in our country, the people that are working in businesses and organizations as staff, so many are so smart, and they have so much goodness, and you're being hoodwinked. You're being lied to by, I'm sorry to say, but the media is telling us it's cutting edge news. CNN is telling us that the Malaysia jetliner in March that is missing, and we informed them it's not, that our government has this technology. A week after they started reporting that, our little group contacted them and let them know that our government has a weapon, a technology that can find that jetliner in 2 seconds. And by the way, there's a huge crime wave. And they did not want to know about it. They were actually sort of a little bit sniffy and, we don't want to know about that. Go away. Because of the money involved with easy reporting. Obviously, it's how can you maximize your profits, and all the shareholders that help jack up the price of the IPO and the leveraged buyouts and all the exchange of ever greater riches for these people. It's the shell game, and so people are buying into it by owning shares in these corporations without knowing that you're contributing to the murder of everybody, of our people with this crime wave, and of our military, and of people around the world that our country is involved in actually creating wars with, fomenting, allowing, and jumping in there and pretending like there's a real threat when there isn't. So world, I know there are a lot of good people out there that really care, and so I hope that what I've explained to you about the industrial military complex really helps everybody wake up. These are just people that want to be rich and famous, and they don't have empathy. And even if they set up foundations for the betterment of humanity, or they give scholarships, it's because they're like the emperors of old age they're like peacocks. They want to be famous. They want people to like them. They want the public in general to like them. But their own workers and their people that are in their personal life, no, they're horrible. They're not nice people. And if you see them up close, you can see that everybody that knows them knows. It's just horrible. And if it worked, if it didn't hurt people, if it created jobs and helped the world, I'm sure we wouldn't mind if they were creepy in their personal lives. But when there's murder of people involved, and they're becoming rich, and by the way, I would be a CEO. I am basically a CEO when I'm not tech attacked. When I'm talking about CEOs this way, it's because that I I worked my way to that position, to that. I spent a lot of my own money, every spare penny, in $130,000 in my every spare penny for about 6 years in extremely advanced education. I've worked since I was 5 to earn my own money. I've always worked. So I mean, I'm self-made. I was a minimum wage worker, and like everybody, but I had more drive and more passion, or I just have a huge work ethic, and I have big goals. I love to help people in the world. So I am basically a CEO, but I'm not tech attacked. But because I'm a female in this era of this horrible new invention called a virtual relationship is the history and the same technology as this weapon robotics. And because I'm a female from the coast of California, the most glamorous places on the coast of California, and because my life, through my hard work, and I've had such an incredible life before males in technology clobbered me and have harmed me with this weapon, they've repeatedly destroyed my life with this. Anyway, because of where I lived, because I took very good care of myself, and my life was filled with a lot of love. When I said I was high society, that didn't come out correctly. I was very tired and not feeling well and being sabotaged. Why am I being targeted by this person? They can tell by beaming me. The computer lets them know that I've created some pretty incredible businesses. I'm a job creator, and I have had, among all of the wonderful people in my life, there have been quite a few that are household names in the world, that are world famous. And but I didn't look for that. I'm just an artist and a writer and a business person, and I love people, the good people, and I love to do what I can to help the world with whatever I can earn. And but these stalkers can tell that, for example, they can tell that Paul Newman's son was my first boyfriend when I moved away from home at 17. I didn't know it was Paul Newman's son. He didn't tell me. He was just so sweet and so cute and polite. And only later did somebody tell me. And then there were other really famous people, world famous people, that have been, have approached me. Really famous people, and these stalkers know that when they drive by me, and these males in technology. So I'm not so as far as being high society, I'm really not. I'm just a normal person. I'm just a very I do enjoy beautiful things, and people tell you that I've made some really incredibly successful, very amazing businesses that people from around the world have wanted to come and frequent. Really famous people, the world's most famous people. But I'm not. I'm just a very normal person. So please scratch that. That was a sabotage of me. But this weapon, I really want you to know, everybody, all the good people out there, to be really clear about this weapon. What it can do to humans and to buildings. It is. The supercomputer is able, and there are a lot of companies that have it, not only in the United States, but around in other countries around the world. But the United States government has the largest version of it, but there is a Pandora's box aspect to it that I will explain later for anyone out there who wants to know about that. I will produce more videos as questions come in. And again, please keep my profile low as you all work on this, just to protect me from being humiliated and embarrassed. There are people who are really big in our country who've known me for decades, who can vouch for you that this is all correct. They know about this. My mother has written a letter, a notarized "To Whom It May Concern" letter, verifying that ever since 1999, a weirdo has been targeting me with this new weapon, trying to destroy my lifelong excellent reputation. And I've always been very responsible, completely normal, and that this stalker is really crazy. But the stalker does like to have the weapon do things to humiliate me, so I have to keep a real low profile. But So please, but I really need you to understand about this weapon that it is, and our country has had it since 1992. October of 1992 is what one CEO told us, who's selling it to the government for $1 billion a year. That means that George H. Bush, Clinton, George W. Bush, and the current president all have had it. But the early version of this, the predecessor, emotion control of humans by satellite software, our country has had since 1972. That means that every president, President Nixon on, Ford, Reagan, Carter, Bush, Clinton, Obama, I mean, all the way, with emotion control software of humans by satellite means it's not kind of clunky control of humans' emotions. It means that our country can beam humans, a great number of humans all at once, anywhere in the world, and change their emotions from being, I'm angry, let's fight, let's go to war, into being, oh, I'm feeling peaceful, let's sit down and talk about it. It's the complete control of the humans. This supercomputer, this new technology that came out, that made the space era possible. And I explain, when you hear, look at the technology videos that we're producing, explaining the technology, and also the virtual relationship one. So you can really understand the full picture about this weapon. Again, these people will do anything to become president, and we probably should stop building them up as being such big-time people, that it's such a big-time position. There's no need for war. And there apparently hasn't been for much of our country's history. I mean, since the revolution, is what one weapons CEO told us, is that there have always been questionable things going on with wars. But they've always, like, why did the Spanish Armada slip in to the harbor, when we had the cannons and everything? I mean, things like that have always happened. And if you're like me, you're just clueless about this. But now it's our wake-up call, everybody, that at least since 1972, but probably earlier, we've had people who've been sick, who have worked their way into the weapons side of our country and have hoodwinked everybody into thinking that there's a threat so they could become rich. And some of them are sick, very sick. And that's they have sexual pleasure in bombing cities and creating wars and watching everybody being blown up and things like that. See, I'm being blocked. Everyone will tell you that there's a reason why I had become basically a CEO, and why I am when I'm not attacked, I'm like incredibly successful. But I've been repeatedly attacked by males with this virtual relationship use of it. They've destroyed my careers over and over again. I'm very tired now. I hope you'll all make sure I'm rescued, but people will tell you that I am so concise and to the point, and that's why I would be earning significant amounts if I weren't being attacked. So please forgive, anything that's not staying on a logical track. It's not me, it's the nature of the sabotage. But okay, so this weapon, what I really, really want you all to really, really spread the word about is that it is the complete control of the human by supercomputer. And there's nothing you can do to prevent it. It can read your thoughts, it can change your thoughts, it can beam a virtual reality into you. It can block you from being able to be aware that your body has been taken control of. You are a living robot. And you can be made to not even be aware of it. It's completely up to the person who's targeting you with this. And it's able to target a lot of people all at once in different ways because of the artificial personality program in the computer. It can generate artificial personalities to target all kinds of people, including the people that have control of it, so that everybody's being made to say and do things that they would never do. They've done that to me. I can speak from personal experience, and that you can't even feel it, and it's so perfected. They can make it so that you don't even know that you've been beamed. It's nanotechnology, and it's with artificial intelligence and the computing power of these enormous supercomputers. I've been told it's 3 trillion terahertz per second, which for those technology people out there, maybe that'll make sense to you. And I don't even know if that's accurate. I always have to double check everything that I'm told and that we're told. I haven't had a moment to do that, but this 9/11, we have to be aware, everybody, that our country, undoubtedly, somebody in our country is responsible for 9/11. And because when you know that our country has had this weapon since 1992, and the motion control software of humans by satellite since the early 1970s, but this, as of 1992, our country has had this supercomputer weapon that's able to beam multiple humans around the world for years ahead of time. It can change the lettering in documents. It can turn a pine cone into a bullet. You can only if you have the same technology can you determine that pine cone was actually recreated from something other than what it ended up looking like to the naked eye and how human touch. This is a new era weapon that has been invented, and I know it is scary. That's why I wanted to share with you the miracle that happened, that I actually was halfway into the next world, and I don't know why I came back. When I was poisoned when no one came to my rescue, it was beyond belief incredible where we're going next. It's even better than here. It's so amazing, and I don't know why I didn't continue on that way, because but there was just like a little stitch. I could feel a little stitch as I was seeing my relatives coming out, and it was incredibly beautiful. Beautiful doesn't even cover it, and the joy, nothing negative. It's so incredible. It's better than here. I can hardly wait to get back there. I'm not kidding you. But there I could feel a little stitch, and then another stitch, and then I was aware that, and then I was like back in my body. I was, before my body was down there, the body, and then I was, for a couple hours, it was very touch and go, and then I was in intensive care for about 1.5 years, and I just recently came out of it, and now I can finally come forward to share this information with the world about this weapon that the United States has, and that there is a flaw in democracy that we have to fix, and we can, and just that we feel so bad about this war going on, and that President Eisenhower warned the country in 1960 that the industrial military complex was out of control. He was apparently the last, president to be really honest about things, because these people want to be president. I think it's a sort of certain kind of craziness. You really, until you've been out of all these offices, you don't realize these people are crazy in there. They really are. And if you have a lot of friends that work in government, as we do now, we've had a lot of friends that work in really good positions, city attorneys and on the Public Utilities Commission boards and all kinds of positions, government attorneys, and they all say the same thing. We have about 15 friends now that will tell you that we know, and they've all said it's really bad in there, and that very soon after you start working in these government positions, a feeling of despising the public settles over you. Despising the public, and that it's very odd, and that people in there are not very intelligent, and that they really are out of hand and out of control, and so please help us alert Americans, the good Americans, to the fact that the media is completely not doing their job. It's we've informed them about this weapon. They really are, everyone's being very lazy. They're very lazy. See, I'm being sabotaged. I was going to tell you that President Eisenhower, when he warned the world, the way that we look at it is, when he warned the world and the country about the industrial military complex being out of control, that was the wake-up call for America. But because this is the first time in the history of the world that democracy has been in an entire country, there's no handbook to go to for answers. There's no one to go to for advice, who's already walked the path and worked out all the problems. And so, everybody thinks someone else is taking care of things, is what it is. We in the public think that these people in government positions are actually taking care of things. We all think there's a dad in there. And until you go in and out of these offices, as we did, with our backgrounds, you find out there's no dad in there. We're just a high school class running this country. And that our classmates that are in these jobs are lying to us. It's a scam. It's not corrupt. It's not like the old, these venal politicians. No, these are our high school classmates who are scamming us. It's the new scam. It's the easy money. It's the easy ride. You go get yourself one of these jobs, and then the money flows. It's called campaign contributions. Even George W. Bush, when he was interviewed, we saw an interview about his life, and he said that then he decided at a certain point to go into the business of public service. And that's what we found after going in and out of all these offices. It's a business for them. They do not see themselves as being public servants. They have no concept of it. They will tell you they do on television, and they'll run to be on television. It's a mess. It's not what we think. So we need to wake up Americans to the fact, please, dear world, all the good people in the world, please help wake up all the good Americans to this truth. The media is not reliable anymore. It's not doing investigative journalism. I'll tell you in another video all the different media that we've informed about this weapon and the war not being necessary and the crime wave. It's just everybody's being very lazy, and that's and here we have a war going on with murder of people. I can't understand it, and I hope that all the good people out there in the world will join me in doing something about it, because all these people are just lazy and they're crazy. So we, the good people, have to stop this situation and fix it, and it's going to be critical to address the fact that people need jobs. That, it's to rant and rave about something, you have to have a practical solution, and these people need jobs that are in these companies that provide weapons. They're going to dig in their heels, and the military people that can't get jobs anywhere else, we have got to have a definite plan to provide them with excellent, equal or greater jobs, rebuilding the infrastructure of our country. Perhaps provide them with country clubs. It would be less expensive for the country than a war where everyone's paying people, they're being scammed into giving money to the people that already have too many mansions. Okay, jobs. You've got to, now, the people that I do have a list of all the different senators that we've contacted, and it'll break your heart. But it's just so hard for me to make these videos under the attack of this billion-dollar weapon. I can barely get anything done every day, and people would tell you she usually is able to get 1 million things done every day, and it only takes one time, and it's basically perfect. But because of the sabotage, I've been working on trying to make a video since January, and here it is July, but I'm finally able to go forward. So if I can't find my particular list of all the senators, I'll have to just provide it in the senators that we contacted about the war. But it was Rand Paul, it was Jay Rockefeller, it was Bernie Sanders, the socialist senator from Vermont. So I'm saying, I consider myself a progressive. There's no difference, everybody. They're all the same. These are our high school classmates. And some of us grew up with people that became senators, and they weren't. The ones that we knew in high school were just sort of dweeby. And then they kind of needed a job one day, and they got themselves into the Senate, and here everybody's admiring them. But the reality is that they're just not even in their offices, and they're not doing their job, and they're on the beach, and they're at home, and they're collecting their paycheck and acting like big shots, but they're still invisible and still not caring and still just little wimpy, do nothings, care nothing, only now it's criminal neglect, it's criminal behavior because lives are being lost under their watch. But anyway, I'm sorry if I'm being very upset about this, if I'm being, I'm being very kind of on the affront, maybe affront, I feel sorry if anybody's insulted, but I don't see any way around it. The fact that this war is happening and this crime wave, but this war that isn't necessary when we have this weapon, and we've alerted all of you to this. And I'm sorry, dear fellow media people, if you feel insulted when I've mentioned this. I've loved being involved with the media, but I think that we have to stop. It should probably be illegal that you would be telling everybody that's cutting edge news when it isn't, and that you're out there keeping people honest when you're the ones that are dishonest, that you're making things up. You're happy to report on down jetliners, but you don't want to report that. You don't want to spend any time researching this weapon that proves that what you're reporting is a lie, is incorrect. You just don't want to spend time on doing your job correctly, and you have. So I'm sorry, if it weren't for the fact for people being murdered in the war, our people and people abroad, in cities being bombed, I would not be feeling that I have to be so direct about this. And I'm sorry if I've insulted anybody, but okay, I'll have to give you the list in the website of all the senators. Many, many, many senators we alerted to the fact that our country has this weapon, that it was George W. Bush's own technology advisor, President George W. Bush's own technology advisor, who told us the official military name of it and identified for us what it is that I'm being attacked by, and that we have all the military and scientific proof of it. And also every possible congressperson. And as I mentioned in video 2, their staff, very interestingly, perhaps because they're up for re-election, someone has mentioned, were not abusive, not overtly abusive. Their voices were polite. They weren't screaming and shouting, that we dared to ask that the Senator, Rand Paul's staff, that it's not Rand Paul's job to do anything about this. All these different senators, their staff is like that. They're 95, 98% of their staff are so abusive. But the congressperson's staff are not overtly abusive, but they are abusive in how they just shove you out the door, and uncaringly and callously not caring about this war. And we've alerted many, many, many of those, and I will find the list and put it on the website. And if enough people asked, we could produce a video giving you the verbal list. And we spent from the end of 2013 up until not too long ago in doing this. So it wasn't too long ago. So this is a wake-up call for America, that it's time for us to rearrange things so that we don't have this horrible thing happening, and also to shift our country into a better place where there isn't so much financial stress on people that they have to sell out to things that are very evil and murderous. So so just as I finish this, these are the things I just want to tell you. I just need to make those points clear to you. And the fact that this weapon that our country has had since 1992 is thought controlled by the person. It can be thought controlled by the person who has control of it. But there is the government. There is a company in the United States that actually has an even bigger version of it, but our country, but they're just sort of laying low and not doing. They're not out there overtly doing things with it. And as you learn about the weapon, you too can start to realize who has it and who has had it. Because there's no law preventing you from having it. There's no government regulation at all of the high-tech industry. I found out in year 2 of my research into this, nor has there ever been. So these companies can invent whatever they want, and it's usually on taxpayer dollars. They're very good at scamming to get contracts for things. Scam, you know. Everybody needs a job, and then some of them want to become rich. And so for the 99%ers out there, you know, you are right that things are being scammed, and I can help with that later because I became a 1%er and I know what's going on. I saw it, and you're right, it is being scammed. So I don't want to get off into many tangents. I just want to focus on this weapon. Our country has had it since 1992. We are being lied to that there is a terrorism threat. There is not a terrorism threat. There has never been a terrorism threat, everybody. This computer can read your brain. It can find you no matter where you are in the world. You can be in a cave. They never lost Osama bin Laden. Different military men have been interviewed on television programs saying that they were out there helping to find Osama bin Laden, and then they were suddenly given a command to stop looking when they knew that they were right there 2 years before he was actually found. And they were saying, they were so frustrated. Why did this happen? Something's wrong. See, our military people come back and they're saying something's wrong. Now you know there's a sexual perversion, and there's huge riches being made. Huge, huge, huge riches. The money game. And to say nothing of all the careers and payrolls. But we can transition people of normal jobs into really good lives and other jobs. And there's no need for any of us to be admiring people that are the richest people in the world from selling weapons. They're basically arms dealers. But this weapon, they never lost Osama bin Laden. This weapon can beam you and can find your body out of everybody's body in the world. I mentioned to you earlier, we're all a snowflake. All of our bodies are different, and that is reducible to math, and the computer can find you. And then it can actually cause you to say and do things. It has complete control over what you say and do, what you feel, whether or not your body is feeling good, how you're experiencing the day. It is the complete control of the human. It is completely able to alter entirely how you're experiencing life. Very subtle things or huge things. It's the complete control of every subatomic particle in your body by a supercomputer that was programmed. It was a perversion that they want certain people, I explained the history in another video, that were turned on by being able to spy into our homes and through our clothing, the women and children, and then to have complete control over them while he was able to be involved with them in this new bizarre high-tech way where he literally is able to smell and taste and touch you. It's a certain fetish of certain males that I explain in the technology video, the history of this. It's the complete control of the human by supercomputers, and whoever has it has control of the supercomputer, is able to tell the computer, just give me some different scenarios of how you plan to create a huge attack on the United States. And the computer can let him experience it as a virtual experience, complete with, and it's exactly as if you're there. When you are beamed with this weapon, there is no difference between the real reality around you and what is beamed into you. The computer completely overrides your own experience of life, so that now your brain is registering the reality that is being beamed into you by the supercomputer. And you can, and there are a lot of celebrities that are being murdered, and people on the internet that are complaining about being attacked by something, and they're being made to talk in ridiculous ways and to wear silly little pointed foil hats on their heads. There's nothing that blocks this. It's the most dangerous weapon ever invented in the history of mankind, these famous scientists said. And remember, it's Ray Kurzweil who explained on the stage at Stanford University that this, when you are beamed by somebody with this virtual relationship technology, which, because I knew Fred Cavley, President George W. Bush's technology advisor, I know that it's the same thing as robotics. That Ray Kurzweil, who is getting money from our tax dollars for quote unquote, advice about defense, it's all about money and people feeling like big shots. I'm sorry, everybody, but let's all grow up now. These are our classmates. We went to college with these people. A lot of us did. A lot of us knew them growing up, and it's not the way to run our country, any country. And but he did explain on the stage at Stanford University that it's exactly this. You cannot tell the difference when you're beamed. You no longer are in control. You're no longer experiencing the reality around you, and your body is under the complete control of a supercomputer, and it can go on for years without you even being allowed to be aware of it. And and it's able to, and whoever planned and orchestrated 9/11, and people that know about this weapon are thinking that it was Bush and Cheney. There were $3 or $4 trillion in gold bullion underneath one of the buildings that disappeared. It's never been found. And you know that these people have made billions, trillions of dollars off of the war. You don't know that there's insanity in these offices until you go in and out of the offices. It's so valuable for all of us to start to do that and to have cameras on these people so that we can really find out who these people are. People that are like myself, if you've worked a lot in your life and you've known people who have these big fancy titles, and if you know them socially, and if you've been involved with them personally, you find out there are really crazy people that have fancy titles, and they're dangerously crazy. So, just, it's not okay. And, but the computer probably was, it's able to show, like Cheney, the plan for how to do this. How we're going to do this, and he could choose, just decide, okay, I like that version. It's like a movie, and then the computer just starts to do it. It's complete control. That's of the humans and of buildings. The buildings are easy. The computer makes some noises while it's doing this to the building, but the whirring, the noises, you can hear the noises if you want to. A lot of these computer nerds that invented it, the perverts that invented it, control of humans, of females and children at first, they're turned on, apparently, we've been told, by they were involved with the space program. No government oversight of these different companies. Anyway, that's the history. You can look in the other video. But they're turned on by having the computer, how it whirs and makes all the noises as the computer is broadcasting what your thoughts are, around his house, wherever he is. He can hear your thoughts, and it can be registering. It can be giving him, say, a fragrance, or it can actually recreate the emotions in his body, so that your emotions are put into his body, so that then he can experience your dismay and your grief as the computer begins to override your thoughts and your decisions. And it actually starts to make you say and do things that you've just violently decided that you don't want anything to do with. For example, flying a plane into the World Trade Centers, into killing a lot of people, into killing yourself. These are sadists. They have a sexual orgasm. People, forgive me for having to use these words. People will tell you she never speaks about things like this. But we have a war going on with people being murdered. We have wars going on around the world, none of which are necessary. No wars are necessary. They're all being fabricated by sexual deviants and by people that want to become rich. And then people that are being misled, and people that are on government that need the jobs. But it's the sexual deviants especially that make them happen. Anyway, so the say Cheney, the people that know about this, who are very involved with politics, have told us that that's who they think it was. And Bush, and I'm sorry to have to share this one with you, but people who are, I must share this with the world so that people like me who are naive can start to be aware what we're dealing with here, how we're being lied to and hoodwinked by people. The old-fashioned form of democracy that we need to step out of now. We need to start having cameras on these people, because people who are very involved with politics have told me that George W. Bush's, a historian has come forward with an expose that former President George W. Bush's grandfather came within a hair of being sent to prison for having financed the Nazis during World War II. And somebody else who has who works to protect children from child molestation and child predators, traced a child predator, child molestation ring all the way up to the Bush White House. Now, I'm not saying that these people are involved with that, but because of my having had to go in and out of all these offices and having met all the people I've met in government since having to work on this project, and I've told you about my background and things I've accomplished, and I have hardly scratched the surface. I've hardly told you anything that my accomplishments. I will just tell every business owner out there, every doctor, every attorney, every teacher, every good person who's working. You don't want to own your own business. You prefer to, be able to go home and not think about things at the end of the day. There are a lot of really good people in the country and around the world with a lot of common sense. It's just an illusion about these people. When you go in and out of all these offices and you meet these people socially, it is scary how crazy some people are that we that have this the advertising, the whole mechanism of people running for office, and how skillfully the television industry with the music, and it's also emotional, and it can cause us to feel, to be fooled and to be just taught to think that these people are really wonderful. And when in reality, if you have cameras on them around the clock, as we should, you'll find out they're really bad. And so this is what the weapon is able to do, what I told you. It can, that undoubtedly it was used by our country. And I'm not saying that Cheney and Bush did it. I'm just sharing with you what people who have heard about this, who are very involved with politics, very aware of politics, in our different capitals around our country, have guessed that it was Cheney and Bush because of other things, that other missteps and other aspects to their bad behavior, and just the riches that have come out of this war. So that's what the weapon is able to do. And so when there's a Boston, the current administration, the current president, the fact that, if you haven't been in business long enough, you don't understand how yucky some business people are. And they just, you're not safe around them. They'll steal your money. They're just not good people. And this is what we get into some of these offices, is that, and we're just fooled because we don't have cameras on them in these offices. We don't know how bad the Senate is behaving. All these people that have fancy titles of senator, we're fooled into thinking, we're brainwashed from childhood into thinking that it's a dad and that they care, and that somebody's actually caring and a dad in there. And it's so valuable to go in there and find out that this is just a scam, and we're messing up in our country. We're not doing a good job. It's our country, and it's our responsibility to run it in a way that is helping to take care of our citizens and also to help the world, and certainly not to cause any harm around the world. And now it's our wake-up call that we have to start getting going, all the good people, all the smart people, all the good, smart people. You run a small business, you know how important it is to show up and make sure that everybody's showing up and that everybody's doing their job. And we know that it's the fear factor that motivates us. People that work for us sometimes think, oh, you have it so easy because you're the boss. No. We don't want to go to work. There are so many days that we want to stay home or go to the beach, but we have fear in our lives that if we don't go, that business will be, that everybody won't show up and customers will go away and we'll lose the business. And so out of fear, we suddenly feel happily motivated or fairly motivated, and so we go. But these government people, all these senators, don't have any fear. They don't have a camera on them, and they've become very warped. And they've just become, they're very warped in there. And so the current president, I don't know how I got off on that subject. I am being sabotaged. I already mentioned that. So I'm finishing this now. This weapon was used to create 9/11. It is able to blow up buildings. We're being lied to about a terrorism threat. There is no terrorism threat. We are the terrorists. Our country, people in our country that are crazy, that have gotten themselves in around weapons and in these positions where they can create wars and allow wars to happen or foment wars, create a 9/11 attack and then lie about it. And again, as I mentioned in the earlier video, it's shocking everybody. It breaks your heart. It makes some of you angry, and I understand that. My heart was broken too when I realized what this meant. And as I went in and out of all these Senate offices, my heart broke repeatedly as I believe in these people. We have an emotional attachment to them. We're taught to from childhood. Uncle Sam, the American flag, our founding fathers. We're taught to feel certain of love. And so when you go in and out of all these offices, your heart breaks when the person that you're asking for help, as your business has been destroyed by high-tech stalkers with the government's own billion-dollar weapon, and that you're being slowly murdered, and that all other citizens, that school children and mothers are, and fathers and grandparents, and that they literally are abusive, screaming that it's not their job to do anything about it. The governor in California and people in Washington, D.C., it's almost every of these positions in these government offices. Their attitude is so uppity and so arrogant and so un-American, and on top of it, they are behaving criminally, and not in what they're doing and not doing. So I know you're angry, but it's time for us to grow up and to realize that there is no dad in there. And this is a very important step, I think, for our country. And a lot of people feel this way who've heard the story, that it's very important for us to, it's a very important step for democracy to realize this fact, because then we can all start to work out our problems together, share the real information around the country, have the Citizens TV around the country so that we know all day long what citizens are going into these offices complaining about and asking for help with. We have little clips so we can pay attention all day long. What's going on around the country? People losing their jobs. And then we have cameras on these people who are in these positions that are supposed to be negotiating things for our benefit, to take care of us. That's what they're paid to do. Well, if we have cameras on them, they will no longer fall into the temptation, as they are, of being on the gravy train. They're only there for bribes. It's called a campaign contribution. It's the only way that you can get them to do their jobs right now, at this point. And you can hear the story and see all the proof. We have files with all the notes and people and dates and times. So it is a growing up moment. And for the military and all the good people in the country, I'm from a very Republican background. I told you about my family and my father in the second video. And I won't take up the time here to explain to the young people about the things that I noticed as a young girl about the Vietnam War and other things I noticed when I was in the Republican Party that caused me to realize that there were lies being anyway. That's another story. This isn't. It's been going on for quite a while. This the arms dealing that they call a defense industry, and that is apparently what the presidents cannot, that's how you get into office, is by, you need to, that defense industry is like the major money machine among the other ones. So we have people that are probably kind of crazy getting into these jobs. You have to be probably a little bit crazy to be in these jobs where you can actually go on like that, being aware that these wars aren't necessary while you're there getting the big, the big title, and you're going down in history, and you're, wagging your tail, and everybody's like exclaiming around the world about how you're such a powerful person. It's a very, and people's brains are, apparently the brain scanning technology has shown that people's brains are fractured. Everybody's brain is like, some brains are just, only operating in this area. This part works, and this part of their personality is out there, and then over here they can be doing this that's at odds with this, but they don't have any connection between the two, any empathy. So I mean, we now can wake up and move civilization forward and fix our country. So the weapon is able to read your thoughts without you even knowing it. It can change your thoughts. It can change what you say and do. You cannot resist it. You cannot feel it coming. It can make you fly drive your car off of a cliff. And I don't care how strong you are. This is with the force of a 50-ton Mack truck. It's able to make, the people that have it typically are sadists. If they're using it on other humans, they have a sexual turn on, and they think it's very funny to take a good person and with this weapon and make their bodies do things that are so against their value system. The Navy Yard shooter is known to be a really good guy. And for years, probably someone was targeting him with this and making him eventually commit the shooting, but set it up so that there were a couple incidences along the way of quote-unquote post-traumatic stress syndrome, but you don't know about this weapon, what it can do. It's like godlike control of you. Godlike control. That's why it's nicknamed the God weapon. So that's. I hope I really cleared it up for all of you. This was committed by somebody in our country. 9/11 was committed by someone in our country. And again, we're not the first country in the history of the world that's had somebody in its own government lie to us and harm us, and then lie to the world. There's people can be crazy, megalomaniacs. And I think schools should stop admiring people who were military leaders throughout the history of the world. Start retraining all of our young children into appreciating people who did really good things to help make everybody's life really comfortable and safe financially with food and housing. That's the challenge for the world now, isn't it? It's not, there's no point in going on admiring people. This is where we are now, is a different place now that we know. And so if everybody will please help communicate this to the United States, to all the good people in the United States and around the world, put pressures on our country to fix our system, and please kind of help us monitor this so this doesn't continue happening, and that our people are provided with good jobs, rebuilding the infrastructure of our country. These CEOs that have these high-tech, that have these defense corporations, their mansions are all over the world. And I told you before, they're like Versailles, and those mansions are paid from the earnings of minimum wage workers. Their tax dollars go into the mansions of these CEOs. And they're really horrible. They're like Scrooges. They're cruel. They're despots. Nobody likes them. And they're just so money hungry and fame. They want everybody to admire them. So they set up quote-unquote foundations that, if you would look, their foundation is set up from blood money, the money that they stole by scamming our system, that they took from all the workers, all the good families that could use that money. And here they are so trustingly believing that there really is a threat to our country. If you knew these people, how cold they are. They are really, really, they're as bad can be. But they can still shake your hand, and they have great social skills, and there are people that are working in their companies. And so that's where we are. But I feel like I left something out there. Our country could find this missing Malaysia jetliner of March in 2 seconds with this weapon. There's no missing jetliner. These people that are accused, there's no need to be having people at TSAs at airports. Now that's again another point. We need to take care of these people, give them jobs. Don't just cut them out. This system of financial warfare against each other is so brutal. It's probably going to, we can start to stop doing that so that everybody can join us in transitioning out of this scam that there really is a need for war. You know, if you are going to throw people out on the streets, shutting down their industry, of course they're going to be upset and they're going to fight. They don't want to starve to death. They don't want to be living in the gutter. Our system isn't designed yet to be, we probably need to start retiring everybody, semi-retiring everybody. There's no need for everybody to be working this hard. I told you before, there's no economic problem in our country that we're going to be revealing to all of you later, but please help us with that. Make sure that these TSA people are provided with good jobs so that they too can join us. But there's no, the Boston bombing, everybody, the Boston bomber told us, I think I told you in the second video, one of them told his mother earlier that he was hearing voices. If you research all these different crimes, you'll find out that these people repeatedly have complained about being controlled by something electronic, microwaves, hearing voices. And again, it's the fault of all these government people and our people that we have in these big job positions with big titles of president and the tech industry for not telling us about this weapon. But it really falls on the shoulders of our people that we have in these Senate offices, the Congress people. They're all scamming us, completely scamming us, and they're on the take. They're completely on the take. That's all they're in there for. They're going to protest this. They're going to say bad things about me. But we have, so please come provide friendship and support, those of you that resonate with this value system and wanting to move civilization forward to a more beautiful place now. Please provide friendship and support. But we do have copies of everybody notes about everybody we talked to, what we said. We have some recordings, dates and names from 2007 up until 2014 to prove to you, everybody that we talked to. So if they start to try to say that this isn't accurate, don't believe them. You know, you can look at my resume and just examine the evidence of this weapon yourself. We have files 6 feet thick filled with the military and scientific proof of it, and some patents and everything. So you can, but just be aware that there is somebody else in the world that has kind of like access to the most dominant version of this, who is really immature and wild and crazy and really kind of crazy, like a really crazy, immature weirdo, not a computer expert. And so as we get going on this, I think we should all kind of have just focus on a couple layers of this, which is to stop the war and make sure everybody has really good jobs and rebuild, make reparations where we owe it, and clean up the system in the United States so that these people that have sexual problems and need war, or who are crazy and need war, or who just want to get rich, so we can start to stop that mess permanently and make sure everybody has a good job. And then, so if we can kind of focus on that and focus on the crime wave, that's covered in the video, and have in the back of our minds sort of a commitment to sort of hold hands around the world, all the good people around the world, that we're all going to be friends and we're all going to help each other from this point on, and we're going to start making the world really beautiful. It doesn't have to harm us financially. There's actually another plan that somebody's been working on for us. We're going to share pretty soon. It's so beautiful that we're really on the verge of a really incredible new, really a new era. So there's going to be some really great news for everybody to look forward to. And so let's all start sharing that around the world and start to help take care of each other, sort of, and gentler and kinder, and there'll be fun, a lot of fun coming up. So, and the other thing is to remember that with this weapon there is a Pandora's box aspect to it, and so if as we work on trying to shut down the crime wave, we can reduce it significantly. And I think just have it in the back of your mind that there might still be some mysterious things happening a little bit here and there. Fred Cavley had warned me it may take some time to shut down all the versions of the weapon. And so just have a sense of humor if you can about things. Realize we're in an entirely new era with this weapon. And we can do the best we can. And bottom line, where we're going next, based on my experience, which I can explain to you later in nanotechnology terms, what that was all about, I'm not going to take time in this video, is so phenomenal. I feel like that was a miracle that I survived, so that as I came forward with this kind of scary news and this negative news, in a way it's negative news, it's going to be joyous, it's going to be really important news for the Middle East and places and around the world, that it's going to be so important to stop all these wars, all the wars everywhere. No war is necessary because this country has the biggest version of this. There's no war necessary anywhere. We can beam anybody in the world and make them want to sit down and talk about things. We can beam a lot of people all at once and make them want to sit down and talk about things and stop dropping, shooting planes out of the sky. But if we just remember that bottom line, what I found in being a science and technology person is that this is just the beginning, and that the party is basically just starting. Where we're going is really incredible. So just keep that in mind as we're all moving forward now. But most of all, we wanted to appeal to the world to help inform the United States people about this weapon and this war, and that the media is not doing their job to the point that we thought they were, and that they and that we, Plato had said, the famous philosopher Plato had said that his quote was that you should that intelligent people should become involved with politics, and that if they don't, they will find that people that are less intelligent than them are governing their lives. And Americans think that, the majority of Americans think that if you watch television news and that you're keeping up with things, that you know what's going on. And if you read the newspaper, you're even more informed. And if you're watching the internet, you're even more informed. And they feel pretty confident that they know what's going on. But having been in the media, and I was a television reporter for about a year and a half, and I'm a member of the film industry when I'm not being attacked, just explain to everybody that it's all an illusion. These the television shows, the films that are created are written by people that are not in these offices seeing what all these people are doing. It's just someone's opinion of what things are like. The media doesn't know what's going on in these offices every day. They're not in there. They're not at the home of the senator. They're not out with him at dinner at nighttime when he's out. They don't know he's out to dinner with some, really determined and money-hungry CEO who's giving him a lot of money in exchange for contracts for weapons. And frankly, the media doesn't really care. Everyone's very low energy. So please help inform Americans about this in the world. And just to get back to having a nice life, and then we should probably return all the money that was stolen from us during the war to make reparations and to take care of our people, to transition our people out of their military jobs and, return into Social Security recipients. If you have no idea how you're being scammed, everybody. It's just amazing. But anyway, so thank you. Those are my corrections, and send us your questions. If you we'll produce more videos, and I guess that we will be producing more videos explaining the crime wave. Oh, we were thinking that some of you may want to storm the Pentagon. That's where the Star Wars division apparently is, we've been told. And because we've already asked all the people in Congress and in Senate positions. We're talking, 635 people out of 70 million people in the United States? And everybody in the United States is saying the same thing. They're all upset about how things are going. We have 635 people in these jobs, all of whom the Senate and the Congress jobs, approximately 635. We've asked every single one of them, plus Washington, D.C. agencies, to do something about this crime wave and about the fact that this war isn't necessary. And they all could care less that so many people, that mothers and children, they don't care about any of it. And so this is a very interesting predicament to be in, where people on government payroll are often running, scamming us, and just completely not doing their jobs at all, and scamming us. It is a scam. And so what are we going to do as a country? We need to shut down this weapon, this crime wave. And so if these people aren't going to do their jobs, and this isn't something to take time to discuss, this is a crime wave going on, this is the war, it's not, in the crime wave, it's huge. Listen to the video about the crime wave, and listen to the technology. This is for instant action. That's what we demanded of these different senators and congresspeople. This is an emergency. This is not something to sit down and write letters about. Where is the emergency handling of things? This is what we're noticing. Our country needs to have citizens TV. We're going to have to transition the media into really good jobs and country lives. Because if they're not able to do their jobs in the way we need them, we need to have our own citizens TV so that we can say, emergency, everybody. Hey, huge crime wave. People are being murdered by a $1 billion weapon through the roof of their homes. Our people are being sent off to war. Our country is murdering people in other countries. Major emergency, and we need to be able to communicate that to each other during the day, that we have an emergency, and that's the situation with this weapon. And so some people have said, maybe we should storm the Pentagon and have a commitment that we're going to keep our system as it is, but we're going to have our citizens in these offices watching over the senators and the congresspeople while we clean up this mess in our country, and start to get cameras and citizens TV, have a commitment to maintain democracy, and but to do it with responsible people keeping an eye while we clean everything up, and start to provide the truth to our people, and start to work it out so that our jobs aren't outsourced, and so that we fulfill our responsibility to ourselves, to our people, and to the world. So by storming the Pentagon and forcing, we have the Star Wars, this weapon is there apparently in the Star Wars military division in the Pentagon, and to have it shut down all the versions of this weapon that's being criminally misused against the public around the country, and wherever else, whatever other countries want us to shut it down. It could be done in 2 minutes. It would take 2 minutes. Anyway, very interesting era, and young people and people on Social Security, retired people, we will have really, really wonderful news later. As I said, we have something so fantastic to share with you later, so just help us. We're all going to become mature adults here and start to deal with this and start to move our country forward and civilization forward, and there will be really good news later. So you're living through history, and every generation has had its challenge to deal with, and this is ours. And Every country in the world has had to, at times, update, remodel their country a little bit to adjust, to make it better. Businesses always have to be keeping up, adjusting things to make things more and more working, But our country, it should be more and more about taking care of our people, making sure everybody has jobs or good lives and around the world. So there's something to look forward to, but please do make sure I'm rescued from this ordeal where I cannot work under these attacks, and I've been robbed repeatedly of everything by various tech males. This is the new felon. These males in technology, in the weapon side of technology, are free of police retaliation to attack you, attack females, and to kidnap them, just rob them of everything because they're turned on. It's like the new snuff film, it's whatever. It's a mess. So please make sure I'm rescued. That's what I'm asking in return for all of this. And but most of all, let's do something about the war. So thank you. And talk to you later.